Hello, welcome to Borderline Obsessed Travels, where I'm attempting the impossible task of visiting every U.S. state, high point, tri-point, county, and national park. Today we're going to be traveling around the South. If you are not new here, hello, welcome back. If you are new here, hello, welcome for the first time. Subscribe if you want, don't if you don't. Okay, let's get into it. Back on the road again, baby. I just got to Congaree National Park outside Columbia, South Carolina. This was designated a national park in 2003, and it is the largest old-growth bottomland hardwood forest in the U.S. I'm heading to the highest point in South Carolina this morning. This is another high point that you can just drive to the top of. I'm at Sassafras Mountain, which is the highest point in South Carolina and the 29th highest state high point in the U.S. at 3,554 feet. Sassafras Mountain is actually located on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. I just parked at the trailhead to get to Ellicott Rock, which is the Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina tri-point. I think it's about a 3-mile hike to get to the tri-point. To the best of my knowledge, I think that is Ellicott Rock down there. So this area was originally surveyed in 1811 to settle a boundary dispute between Georgia and North Carolina. It was originally surveyed by a guy named Ellicott, and then in 1813 it was resurveyed. And the rock down here, I think, is actually Commissioner's Rock, but the Commissioner's Rock has colloquially just been known as Ellicott Rock ever since. But that big rock down there in the Cheaha River is the tri-point. This hike was nice. I think it was around 3 miles following the Cheaha River. It's not like overly technical, but there were a lot of trees down, so there was a lot of scrambling over trees. And it's not very well marked, but it's also kind of hard to lose the trail, so. And the tri-point is where Rabun County, Georgia, Jackson, and Macon counties in North Carolina, and Oconee County, South Carolina meet. Okay, I'm gonna go try to touch it. Okay, I think this is it. Bam, I'm at the tri-point. I'm on my way up to the highest point in Georgia right now. This is yet another one that you can drive most of the way to the top of. So this is going to be slightly more of a walk than I assumed it was. The parking lot's down here, and that tower is the lookout tower. There's also a $5 fee per person. Okay, 0.6 of a mile to Brasstown Bald. Trail to the top is probably comparable to like Mount Mitchell or Clingman's Dome. Steep. This is Brasstown Bald, the highest point in the state of Georgia and the 25th highest state high point in the U.S. at 4,784 feet. This is part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and the Cherokee word for this mountain is Enota. We're in Towns and Union County right now. The tri-point for Fannin County, Georgia, Cherokee County, North Carolina, and Polk County, Tennessee is on private property. I don't feel like going through the process of trying to get onto this property, but the property owners also put this big rock up as like a pseudo marker. This big rock is the marker that they put up as like the pseudo tri-point, or the more publicly available tri-point option. I think the real tri-point's somewhere back there. So I saw this rock, and I'm going to drive over the 3 state lines closest to the tri-point that are publicly accessible, and I'm going to count that. To me, that counts. I can make up my own rules here, so whatever. Good morning, on my way up to Alabama's Highpoint, and you guessed it, another one you can drive to the top of. So you gotta buy a $5 pass once you get into Cheaha State Park, but you can drive all the way to the top once you buy that pass. This is Cheaha Mountain, or Mount Cheaha, the highest point in Alabama and the 35th highest state high point in the U.S. at 2,407 feet in elevation. Probably could have gotten a better view on a day that was less foggy. I'm at Britton Hill, the highest point in Florida and the lowest state high point in the U.S. at 345 feet above sea level. There are skyscrapers in Miami hundreds of miles from here that are taller than this point. Britton Hill is 103 feet lower than the next lowest state high point, which is Delaware, Ebright-Asmuth. Britton Hill is in Lakewood Park, which is just on the side of the road. This is Defuniak Springs, the county seat of Walton County, Florida, and home to Lake Defuniak, which is an almost perfectly circular 40-acre spring-fed lake. There's a walking path around the lake, which is just about a mile long. Defuniak Springs has been voted the best small town in Florida in the past, which I guess I can see. Yeah, it's pretty cute. I stumbled upon a big dog Mardi Gras in Pensacola, which was cute. The Gator Alley Boardwalk in Daphne, Alabama is a short path that runs under US Highway 98 and I-10 and is meant for viewing alligators. I didn't happen to see any alligators while I was there, but this concrete alligator did scare me. I was very startled by this statue. This is the Mississippi River Basin Model Waterways Experiment Station outside Jackson, Mississippi. It's a small-scale model of the entire Mississippi River Basin. It was built at a 1 to 2,000 horizontal scale and a 1 to 100 vertical scale and includes ground topography, rivers, tributaries, and even levees. It takes up over 200 acres and there are over 8 miles of waterways built into this thing. It's the largest small-scale model of anything ever built. Construction took place from 1943 to 1966 and much of it was done by prisoners of war. It was in operation from 1949 to 1973. They would pump the model with water to model real-life flood events, and simulations could take weeks. This wire mesh simulated areas of dense foliage, but now this mesh is just piled up in huge piles all over the site. By 1973, computer modeling was advanced enough that it wasn't practical to continue operating this model anymore. It was abandoned and fell into disrepair. There have been recent efforts to revitalize it, but that's a huge task, and there are still big sections of this model that are buried under potentially feet of pine needles. It's ridiculous. There are abandoned buildings all over the site, including the old pumping station and water tower used to run the simulations. Now it's a park, so there are soccer fields, trails, a driving range. It's really neat. Check it out if you have the chance. I just parked for the walk to Louisiana's High Point. It's in the parking lot of Mount Zion Presbyterian Church outside of Simsboro, Louisiana. I believe it's about a mile walk to the High Point. So I think the High Point itself is privately owned, but they keep it open to the public. This is Driskill Mountain, the highest point in Louisiana and the 48th highest state high point in the U.S. at 535 feet above sea level. The trail to get up here was probably about a mile long, not very steep and very easy to follow. They have a notebook where you can sign in. I just parked on the side of Louisiana Route 1 for the Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas tri-point. Here it is. This is the point where Miller County, Arkansas, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, and Cass County, Texas meet. Somebody asked if I experienced culture shock being in the South, and for the most part, no, except that there are a lot of free-roaming dogs here, and that was hard to get used to. And then I spent a few days in Austin where I ate some blurry food, went to a Buc-ee's, got a tintype photo taken, pet a goat, had a good time. Poverty Point is a World Heritage Site located in northeastern Louisiana. It's a prehistoric earthwork constructed from 1700 to 1100 BC by the Poverty Point culture, so it's over 3,700 years old. The site consists of several large mounds and many ridges. The ridges were where their homes were built. You can faintly see the ridges here, but they've eroded pretty significantly over time, and also because there used to be a plantation here. Nobody knows what the mounds were used for, but the biggest one, Mound A, is 72 feet tall and may have been shaped like a bird in flight. 750,000 cubic yards of dirt were moved to create this whole site over the course of hundreds of years. The Poverty Point people were hunter-gatherers, so it's kind of unique that they stayed in place as long as they did. Many societies like this would have been more nomadic. Hundreds or even thousands of people lived here at a time, and it was probably an enormous regional trade center. Nobody knows why the site was eventually abandoned, but it may have been because of the changing course of the Bayou Mason, which they relied pretty heavily on. There's a lot of stone and clay artifacts at the museum here. It's pretty interesting and worth a visit. So this is the next day. These are the Bynum Mounds and the Farr Mounds along the Natchez Trace Parkway in northern Mississippi. These were built around the year 100 CE by the Miller culture, so they're much more recent, and these are burial mounds. I'm on my way up to the highest point in Mississippi. So the road up here is gravel, but it is pretty wide and pretty level. It rained really hard yesterday and I had no issue getting up here, so I think most cars could probably drive up here pretty easily. So this is Woodall Mountain, the highest point in Mississippi and the 47th highest state high point in the U.S. at 806 feet above sea level. The Battle of Iuka during the American Civil War took place nearby in 1862. Woodall Mountain was probably used as an observation post for both sides at different points.
Yes, Burr is right. It's risky.
The Unclaimed Baggage Center in Scottsboro, Alabama is basically a huge thrift store, except nobody intentionally donated anything to it. It's made up of people's lost luggage from flights. If a lost bag isn't reunited with its owner within 3 months, it's considered orphaned and can be bought up by this place. They have clothes, home goods, electronics, books, basically everything you could imagine. This is the Bellefonte Nuclear Generating Station in Hollywood, Alabama. It's an unfinished nuclear power plant. Construction began in 1975, stopped in 1988. It cost over $4 billion, and it's just been sitting here empty ever since. Kinda creepy. I just parked at State Line Cemetery on the Georgia-Tennessee state line, and I'm about to walk to the Alabama-Georgia-Tennessee tri-point. I think it's just in the woods a little bit from here. I believe it's that way. There was a quick stream crossing, but that might just be because it's rained a lot recently. I don't know if that's always there. And then you follow a trail, not very far. So I believe this is it, the point where Jackson County, Alabama, Dade County, Georgia, and Marion County, Tennessee meet. Tennessee and Alabama are in the central time zone, and Georgia is in the eastern time zone. There's a cute little arch that says Tri-State Corner Paradise Point Resort right above the Tri-State marker. There's also this lovely no trespassing sign, but I'm only seeing this on this side, so I think the tri-point is fair game. You're just not supposed to go that way. And that is where I abruptly stopped filming this video, so thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.